WSLA Orlando's 24-hour weather channel. Well, some great stuff this morning, and this high pressure holds on. We'll stay sunny and unusually warm. High today at 86, well into the 80s tomorrow and Sunday. Weather updated around the clock on 540 WSLA. I'll be down to St. Atlantic at the Weather Channel.
Good morning, exactly 7:34 on the dot. If you want to set your watch, the Budman here on the 50,000-watt front porch, waking you up right and talking over the hottest topics in talk radio with the best audience out there, and that's you. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you choose to call at 407-916-5400 or sit back and listen, and we keep you company on the way to work. Jen is here as well, and Jeff, and the U.S. Census figures are in, and I want to talk about what's happened in the last 10 years. You know, I think most of us would say, well, the Great Recession, the economic collapse, sure did put the brakes on runaway growth here in Central Florida. I mean, you know, there are construction projects that were stopped in their tracks, have never been completed. This unbridled growth that was, you know, we're in the process of paving over what remains of our paradise here. All of that just seems to have stopped. And you would get the impression that the census would suggest that growth has stopped in Central Florida. But, you know, the economic collapse only began in the fall of 2008. That's late in the decade. We're looking at a 10-year picture here in census figures. And by the way, I'll talk about the implication of the new census numbers for our congressional delegation and representation here as we continue on this. But what's amazing is, if you live in Orlando, Florida, you are living in what, in the past decade, the economic collapse aside, was the fastest growing major city in the state. Current population, 238,000. That's the city of Orlando. It grew 28% in the past decade. Almost all of it, and I'll get into this in a moment, was growth in the Hispanic and black population. Almost none of it was growth in the white population. So the demographics of Central Florida, and I think that's evident anywhere you go, you understand that those are trends that have been at work for a while, and they continue, and they are accelerating. And the mix here in Central Florida is changing, and it will be forever changed. And the trend, I think, will clearly continue. Now, Florida was already set to get two new congressional seats in the House of Representatives based on its increased population statewide. One of those districts, it appears now to most observers, is going to be in South Florida, and another one is going to be drawn right here in Central Florida, probably in very heavily Hispanic areas, reflective of the enormous growth in the Hispanic population. Now, Orange County is also growing by leaps and bounds. There's no question about it. There are only two counties in the state that have lost population in the last decade. One of them is Pinellas County out there, because there's simply no place else left to build out in that area, over in the Bay Area by St. Petersburg. I mean, you can't grow if there's no place to build, you know? They have limits on how high, I guess, you can build things, and there's no place to build them out. I mean, they're all packed in over there. If you've driven over there, you know it's true. Isn't that interesting? I think Liberty County up in the Panhandle is the other one that actually lost population. But Florida's population, owing largely to a booming Hispanic population increase, is now at 18,801,310. That is up 18% from the last census 10 years ago. Orange and Osceola counties now, with the changing demographic mix, are now what are called minority-majority counties. There are only a couple of other ones in the state. Orange and Osceola counties within the sound of my voice. Non-Hispanic white residents now make up less than 50% of the population in Orange and Osceola County. No longer a white majority. the biggest single population group still. But when you put white against all others, white is less than 50% for the first time. Let's see what else is in here. Florida gets 2 more seats in Congress. I told you that, for a total of 27 representatives. And it's interesting, state lawmakers are already working on the population data to see how in the world this is going to be engineered. Of course, we passed the Fair Districts constitutional amendments with a 60% plus majority in November that would dictate an end to this outrageous practice of gerrymandering, these contorted districts that favor sometimes the Democrats, sometimes the Republicans, but do not favor fair representation and fair opportunity for political opposition. And it's simply got to be ended. We passed those because we wanted fair districts for Congress and for state lawmakers, state legislatures, and Rick Scott and the legislature are trying to find a way to dig their heels in and undo this and thwart the will of we, the people. And I have called them on that. Oh, back to the growth thing. I told you Orlando's the fastest growing city. Orange County is the fastest growing county, despite the economic collapse of the last 2 years. For the entire decade, Orange County, just as Orlando, up to 28%. How many people live in Orange County, do you think, right now? 1,145,956. But if you talk about a growth rate, Orange County grew the most in raw numbers, but Osceola County had the greatest percentage rate of growth, powered by an exploding Hispanic population in Osceola. Osceola's population up 56% to 268,000 and change. Almost all of it driven, as I say, by the vast increase in the Hispanic population. And in Lake County, the population is up 41% to 297,000. Seminole and Volusia counties, more modest growth increases. Seminole up 16% in the last 10 years. Volusia up 12%. It's amazing, though. Again, almost all of this is Hispanic population growth and, to an extent, black population growth. White population growth is almost non-existent and flat. The only exception to that up in Lake County. So that's some of what's going on here, and it forever changes the face of Florida. You can feel it, you can see it, and with the population growth, it's going to be much in evidence. We become an even stronger force as a state in Congress, in the House. We'll now have 27 representatives, another 2 because of population growth, and probably a fresh, heavily Hispanic congressional district right here in the heart of Central Florida. Of the 541,000 more people in Central Florida over the last 10 years, 267,000 were Hispanic. And that's what we know from the Florida census. For better, for worse, as Walter Cronkite would have said, that's the way it is. 407-916-5400, toll free, 1-866-916-5400. Good morning at 7:42. Let's get outside right now and check real-time traffic and weather together on the twos. Hey, you want to get the most bang for your buck in your retirement, don't you? You worked hard for that money. You don't want to just spend down one asset after another. You want to look at the whole picture and make sure each piece is working to the max for you, and that's where my good friends Jack Nelson and Joel Garris of Nelson Investment Planning Services come in right now. They offer you an absolutely free 2-hour consultation all about your retirement and how to make it what you dreamed instead of a living nightmare. They provide professional financial planning advice to make sure your retirement is all you want it to be. And it starts with getting to know you on a personal level. Jack and Joel are great guys, and they're backed up by a terrific staff, and they're so knowledgeable and so honest when it comes to all things related to finance and investment. They're going to get to know you, your family, your financial goals for today and the future, and they're interested in helping you toward financial security and peace of mind in your retirement. They'll always follow their bedrock principle of never doing anything with your money they haven't already done with their own money. How about calling for that free 2-hour consultation right now? You'll thank the Bud Man, I promise you. Nelson Investment Planning Services, 407-629-6477, 407-629-NIPS. And remember, this Sunday morning, here on 540 WFLA, Jack and Joel on Dollars and Cents, 540 WFLA, Sunday at 9.
Traffic on air online, brought to you by Subway. Get your better breakfast at Subway. Try a irresistible steak, egg, and cheese with toasted tomato and Chipotle Southwest sauce on tasty flatbread. Only at Subway. Eat fresh. Dave Ramsey here. If you own a business and need to buy, sell, or lease real estate for that business, you should always use an expert commercial real estate agent to help you. A commercial real estate agent will help save you thousands of dollars when you're buying a business space and help you make more money if you have a space to sell. A commercial agent will negotiate on your behalf, make sure the space meets your needs, and much more. But not all commercial real estate agents are the same. You want a seasoned professional with a track record of success. An agent you can trust to put your best interests above their own. My team and I can help you. We call these superstar agents endorsed local providers because they're local agents in your city that I endorse. Each agent is reviewed based on their ability to sell, negotiate on the client's behalf, and the customer service they provide. To find a commercial agent, I recommend go to DaveRamsey.com and click Endorsed Local Provider. That's DaveRamsey.com and click Endorsed Local Provider. This portion of 540 WFLA is brought to you by ManifestFlorida.com.
Hey, my turn to brag on Bright House again, and Bright House Networks, absolutely awesome. If you're a sports fan like the Budman, you need ESPN Buzzer Beater HD only through Bright House Network Sports Pass. You can enjoy ESPN Buzzer Beater, your college hoops tickets to the very best seat in the house. Wow, you're going to love this. Live look-ins, highlights, and analysis of the best games as they're happening. You're going to stay on top of all the March Madness action. It is ESPN Buzzer Beater. All the best moments in one place, only through Bright House at the home court of college hoops. Check it out, brighthouse.com.